Namaste and a very, very warm welcome to each and every one of you present on this Global Festival of Yoga, the second edition. This year's special focus is on healing, well being, and wisdom. And we have tried our best to bring to you people from different backgrounds who have worked on these topics and enriched their lives and the lives of many through their experience of different aspects of yoga practices. So, today we are on the 16th day of the festival, and which will go on till the 18th. Those of you who have been here with us, thank you very much for being there once more. And those of you who are new, look forward to your continuous journey with us while this festival lasts. We've had different approaches to understanding the importance and ways in which we can heal ourselves. And one of the important things that have come through so far is the role of the breath. We've had a session on the anatomy of pranayama, connecting with our breath, etc., in our previous sessions. Today we have another session by Mirabelle Sivajyoti. So she likes to be called Sivajyoti. And she's going to be talking to us on the intimacy with breath, the Rasa for healing. I'll tell you a little bit about her because she's had a very interesting background. Sivajyoti ji supports committed yoga lovers to savor the luxury of inner experience and live purposefully, pleasurably, and joyfully through breath. She provides a loving space for them to unplug from urgency into deep trust and allowing. Her signature offerings are Sadhana Club, an online sanctuary that brings grace, clarity, and community to yoga teachers and practitioners, as well as a Breathe into a Radiant You private mentoring program for healing through breath. Mirabelle is an intimate relationship with yoga as a breathing experience and has been on the path of living yoga for 19 years, studying with swamis, monks, and teachers from the Shivananda Saraswati lineage and at Mumbai University. She has taught yoga at ashrams and studios in India, the US, Canada, Bahamas, Bermuda, and the Cayman Islands, where she's presently living. And she's a guest teacher on yoga teacher training on pranayama, bhakti yoga, and the deeper nuances of yoga as a living practice. She has been a speaker and panelist and teacher for Yoga Alliance continuing education programs. She also organized the world's first Bhakti Yoga Summit in 2020 and the first ever Pranayama Summit in 2021, which concluded recently and which was attended by thousands and also endorsed by the Chopra Foundation. It's in relationship with the Pranayama Summit that I came to know Mirabelle ji or Sivajyoti ji. And it has been a very a deep connect from the very beginning. So it's very interesting how the prana of the cosmos, brings people together, and one can then resonate and breathe together for greater joy. So yoga sadhana as a practical lived experience in grihastha is her passion. Her first children's book, because she's also a well-known author. So her first children's book, Explore Modern Professions, was launched by Rasul Pukuti, Academy Award winner for Slumdog Millionaire. And her next book, 366 Words in Mumbai, is a bestseller exploring inclusivity, diversity, and many principles of yoga through the eyes of two children in Mumbai. Now, whether in an individual or group session, corporate or yoga teacher training space, trust, compassion, and intimacy with breath are at the heart of how Mirabelle approaches all of her work in this world. And it is with this great pleasure I would love to invite Mirabelle ji to join us. And as you always say, may the Devi inspire what will flow from now onwards. So over to you. And for the audience, if you have any questions, we'll keep the chat box open. So because she will have a few questions, so please feel free to answer her queries. And then we might close it. And when you have your questions at the end, please put them in the Q&A box. So with these words, over to you, and really look forward to this connecting with our breath in a very intimate manner. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anu, for such a beautiful, warm welcome. And to everyone on the Indica Yoga team, before we began, it just felt so nurturing and warm. And to everyone that's here, just in Sangha with us, you are very welcome. From our hearts and from the divine heart. Actually, it feels more like the womb of the divine that holds all our hearts together. So welcome. And I'd just like to begin with just a chant from my Shivananda lineage. So we can just find a soft way to just tune in. And perhaps just come into a state of allowing. गजाननं भूतगणादिसेवितं कपित्तजम्बूफलसारभक्षितम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम् षडाननं कुङ्कुमरक्तवर्णम् महामतिं दिव्यमयूरवाहनम् रुद्रस्य सुनं सुरसैन्यनाथम् गुहं सदहं शरणं प्रपद्ये या कुन्देन्दुतुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्मश्रुतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा पूजिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेषजाध्यापहा ॐ नमः शिवाय गुरवे सच्चिदानन्दमूर्तये निष्प्रपञ्चाय शान्ताय श्रीशिवानन्दाय ते नमः। ॐ सर्वमङ्गलमङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोऽस्तु ते नारायणी नमोऽस्तु ते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaste again, everybody, and welcome. Suswagatam. Um, we're going to, by grace, have an exploration of intimacy with breath, the rasa for healing. And, as I was preparing just before, I noticed the words on the little, sort of poster for today, soft power. And intimacy with breath is all about soft power. It is about the allowing of the unfolding of grace of anugraha into our lives. So I'm just going to share my screen. Just what we're going to do is the first part, we're just going to explore a little bit of the science. In our lineage, they say an ounce of practice is worth tons of theory, but also sometimes you need tons of theory in order to do an ounce of practice. So whatever way it is that it is palatable for you, may this session offer that to you. So I just want to begin with, an exploration of what is intimacy and why are we talking about it in the practice of yoga. I'll share a little story. So I had been practicing pranayama for many, many years, and I loved the practice. It helped me heal from a very bad slip disc, and a lot of unforgiveness and lots of other barriers to ease and flow and connection. And one day, a few years ago, I was in the Shivananda ashram in the Bahamas with a new teacher. And this teacher, the Swami, as we were practicing, he suddenly said, get intimate with breath. And as an Indian person, I got a little shocked because I did not ever associate the word intimacy with spiritual practice. For me, intimacy was something that experience with with my husband or my child or in a close relationship. And something happened to me energetically in that moment. While the mind was like, "What is he saying?" Something really happened and shifted energetically, and that began a very different journey with this experience of breath, which to me is like this notification, like on our phone, it's constantly pinging, reminding us that breath is a portal to connect with prana shakti. And from prana shakti, or the life force, the vital, loving life force, we can connect then to consciousness. Um, and so, just an important thing to consider is that, when we look at intimacy actually on a non spiritual path, right? This is what the sort of definition is. Intimacy is about two people being responsive to each other. And this is a very important word, responsive, because in the responsiveness is where the relationship unfolds. Self-disclose, which implies a level of vulnerability, right? And demonstrate involvement behaviors, a level of engagement. It is a variable experience, very different from moment to moment, from relationship to relationship. It's not fixed, right? Taking the form of attachment. So we can also have moha, attachment to our spiritual path or ourselves in this ego attachment to what is spirituality, what is yoga, what am I as a sadhaka. Compassionate, companionate, and romantic love. And this is a definition for intimacy for human relationships. But in the path of bhakti, we can have so many ways, right? We have 9 ways of connecting with the divine. We can see ourselves as a child, we can see the divine as a non-romantic lover. And that's the beauty of when we bring the bhakti aspect or the bhakti experience to our experience of breath and of prana and pranayama. So asking ourselves then, what does intimacy mean on the spiritual path? When I heard that word intimacy, the first thing that really shifted in me was that I did not have an intimate relationship with myself. I had seen intimacy only as something to have with another human person, not with the divine and not with myself. And if I am wanting to be vulnerable, if I am wanting to be in harmony, in flow with the divine, then I must first explore what it is to be intimate with myself, to know what is really alive, what is present, what is looking for attention or awareness or compassion or acknowledgement in myself. And when I know this, then I am able to offer this in relationship with the divine. Um, and then the dialogue can begin. One of my teachers, Induji, very beautifully says that yoga is not a monologue. It's not something that you do. It is a conversation. It is a relationship, a dialogue that we have. We listen as much as we speak or we direct. So I hope that that offers some kind of an exploration for all of us here today into what is intimacy. How am I intimate with myself in this relationship with myself? What is myself? What is not of myself? What is of the ego? And how can I also not then reject it, but bring it into conversation and use the motivation of the ego towards sattvic practice, like by grace we will practice now. The other thing that, just to go over the title, right? The Rasa for healing. What is healing? I'd love if you can share in the chat just whatever your idea or understanding of healing is as it comes to you right now. We're not looking for right and wrong. Everything is welcome when we come to the divine. Just as we are totally welcome. So, but I think it's a very important exploration to have because, all of the words that we have, whether it's yoga or pranayama or healing, we have certain stories around them, certain structures around them, certain expectations also around them. And it's nice to be able to play with, to explore and see what in that might be limiting to our actual experience, right? Um, I'm not able to see the chat for some reason, but I'll trust that that's ongoing. So when we look at the word healing, often we can come to it with a sense um, of a product, right? Just to put it in modern day parlance, like healing meaning not having disease, being emotionally well, as something, healing is something that will fix me, or healing is the absence of disease. So many different ways that we can have a relationship with the word healing. What could be healing beyond these definitions for you as a personal, intuitive percolation, right? And I just want to share what comes for me. This is not a scientific exploration. This is beyond the Ayurvedic definition of swastha, but it's personal. And I invite you to, my slides are going all over the place. Wow. Okay. So
Mirabelle,
what arrives for me?
we are enabling the chat and I'll read out whatever comes for you. Is that all right?
Okay, Anu.
I'll do that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So healing for me is the trustful offering. So the offering and the allowing of all that manifests as divine grace. In the unfolding, in the allowing, unfolds clarity of inner and outer action that easily dissolve the barriers that uphold separation. So here comes the practice of yoga, right? When we offer a trustful offering, just an arpanam, with trust that whatever is manifesting is grace. I'll give you a little example. So I actually, after 7 years, had the flu and I am just recovering. And yesterday I had this thought, how can I be teaching this session on healing this session while I am unwell? It's quite a paradox, isn't it? And so I brought it to my sadhana, and what arrived really was this, that I offer to the divine whatever is right now as an offering of grace. And so maybe from this space of sharing with you while I'm still having the flu, um, there is a connection because I'm not healed. There is a way that we can explore this together. And this unfolds a clarity of there is no urgency. I do not need to be healed. It is not a destination. It is an allowing and a trust that grace has brought this into my path. This karma is ripening now because it offers me an opportunity to have prasada buddhi. Whatever the divine is giving is prasadam, right? So let's look a little bit into the science of what and the navarasas, right? So these are the navarasas you can see on the screen, and I like to explore them. From my understanding, it has come as the navarasas create certain the kind of trigger certain neurotransmitters in our system, which cause us to have certain experiences. And why am I talking about this? Simply because through breath, through being in a conscious relationship with breath, we can heal tremendously. I highly recommend the book of James Nestor, Breath, the Lost Science, the Lost Art of the Lost Science. I can't remember the title clearly, but it's a fabulous book. Patrick McKeown, the entire science of breathing. And it will really show you how literally everything changes from the way that we breathe. So there's the mechanics of breathing, and then there is the rasa of breathing, and of pranayama, and that's what I want to share a little bit about. So when we look at different practices, and particularly pranayama practice, what it unfolds is these certain neurotransmitters which make us feel happy and high. The high of pranayama, if you've experienced that, it's just it's almost like an addiction, and you'll see why. So there's dopamine, which plays a role in how we feel pleasure. It helps us to strive, focus, and to find things interesting. Then there is serotonin, oxytocin, which creates a feeling of intimacy. We also have serotonin, which is a key hormone that stabilizes our mood, feelings of well-being and happiness, and it impacts our entire body. It enables the brain cells and other nervous system cells to communicate with each other. And it also helps with sleeping, eating, and digestion. We also have, when we talk of the navarasas and we talk about fear or disgust, right? Those also have chemical reactions in our body. So when we have anger, right, it releases a neurotransmitter, these chemicals called catecholamines, and they cause us to kind of go into that fight, flight, or freeze, and the heartbeat accelerates. And so we can see how each of these navarasas create a certain chemical interaction unfolding in our body. And breath allows us to be able to transmute. Breath is the catalyst to be able to transmute these into more sattvic states, right? And then just this slide that's come up. Many times when we are in an elevated state of emotional reactivity, right? We feel anger, or we feel urgency, or we feel like we need to do something or take control of something. And we all know that we want to slow down the breath, and we want to make it dirga and sukshma, but it's not always possible immediately. So one of the little tricks to do this is to go to the control center of the breath. So this is here, if you see the little flashing sort of GIF that I put in there, that's the pons, and that is the control center for respiration. When we give the command directly to the control center, it really helps. You tried it, it may require some amount of focus and practice, but really once you give the command and say, I'd like for my breath to be slow and subtle and easeful, it will automatically, the command center automatically makes it happen. So um, let's go to the practice a little bit now. Okay, I can now see the chat as I stop sharing screen. Okay, so the opposites are very important in the practice of allowing, right? We think sometimes that because I'm doing yoga or a spiritual practice, I should always be feeling high. I should only have positive emotions. But all emotions are a creation of the divine. And all emotions offer opportunity to be catalysts for allowing trust and allowing connection. We only feel the so called negative emotions because they show how deeply we want to be staying in connection, right? And so there's the beauty of sitting with the opposites. And I love this line, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu. Sarva Bhuteshu, this divine mother who is in all forms. So welcoming all of our feelings, all of the sensations that are unpleasant in our physical body when we are in pain, when we are in the journey to healing. Um, so we'll just go into a little practice and just allow yourself to find a space of comfort and ease. If it is possible for you, allowing the spine to grow as an expression of the yearning that you have for constant connection, constant sharanam, refuge in the womb of the divine. Allowing the spine to root also downward. Inviting the energy of all our ancestors, the ancestors in our families, our spiritual ancestors, inviting their blessings, their support for our sadhana today. Just taking a moment to thank them for all the nourishment that they have provided and are providing. Thank them also for all the challenges and the traumas that we may still be experiencing, and inviting their blessings and the divine grace to easefully just melt, unfold, healing in the degree and the expression that the divine feels is for us today. Feel the surge that can rush through the spine when we find this stable anchoring, rejecting nothing of our past, feeling just gratitude and rootedness. And allow like a gentle breeze, awareness like a gentle breeze to just sweep over the whole body. Take a moment to welcome also any errant thoughts, any urgency of the mind, any questioning in conversation. Noticing them as an integral part of our human experience. Notice in the physical body any discomfort, any pain. Allow all the parts, the experiences, the sensations of the body that we deny, that we have rejected, that we distract ourselves from. Allowing them space to find their expression, to share with us the core feelings of their existence. And know that throughout the practice, as sensations shift and unfold, as discomfort may also be part of the practice. Just notice where this pressure, this discomfort, this contraction is in the physical body or in the mind. And then very gently, very respectfully, like you're entering the sanctum sanctorium, the most vulnerable part of this discomfort, this pain, this trauma. Find in this sensation the epicenter where this sensation is throbbing, is pulsing, where this prana is drawing our attention, requesting our loving attention. Feel the intensity of the epicenter without judgment. Feeling a sense perhaps of karuna, of compassion, of connection. And then gently journey away from the epicenter with your loving awareness in concentric circles, feeling how sensation shifts from the epicenter to just around, like a ripple. And then unfolding into the next ripple. Now perhaps the sensation is a little less pronounced, a little less intense. And then feeling away from this, Just journeying in concentric circles, allowing whatever unfolds until you come to a place in your body where discomfort ends and ease begins. Perhaps you may feel this in the palms of your hands or the soles of your feet. Notice how ease is also present in your body. And come back now to that epicenter. And notice perhaps if it has shifted in intensity. Just allowing. Just allowing. And now slowly, we begin a pilgrimage. This pilgrimage that is constant. So we bring now our loving awareness, our heartful offering. Noticing that this breath in the divine technology as it is manifest in our human form, this breath is a pilgrimage of divine energy moving through the nostrils into the chest, into that area where the heart is, the seat of our soul. Allowing yourself now to feel beyond terminology, beyond being a sadhaka, just coming with a sense of freshness, of awe. How beautiful it is that in this moment, the divine is choosing to offer itself to me so silently. How life is asking nothing of me at all. Quietly, the divine enters, Prana Shakti enters, beginning to feel intimacy as an experience of pleasure, something we may often deny ourselves on this path. Beginning to feel the touch of breath as the touch of the divine. Bringing awareness to the edges of the nostrils. Feeling that moment when the cool air enters the nose and caresses the inner walls of the nostrils. Feel that aliveness, that soft touch, that gentle presence. Feeling how breath begins to journey through the narrow passage of the nasopharynx. And then just gushes down the windpipe, easily flooding the lungs, infiltrating through the bronchi, the bronchioles, the alveoli. The whole system is lit up with prana shakti, radiant, giving. Feel how the lungs swell to embrace this divine touch, this divine gift. Notice the sensation in the heart. And notice how this technology holds on to nothing and this breath begins to rise up, to float back up through the lungs. This gentle change in pressure. Breath finds its way back out through the nostrils. Feeling the warm, moist air gently alighting upon your upper lip. Begin to feel, really bringing your concentration as an offering. Love is attention. Attention unfolds subtlety, sensitivity. Let this simple act of breathing, which is both voluntary and involuntary, become an experience of the touch of the divine for you. Feeling separately and successively the touch through all the stations through which breath passes. Nose, nasopharynx, windpipe, bronchi, primary, secondary, tertiary, alveoli. Just allowing the feeling. Notice how expectation is also part of the journey to healing and to consciousness. Recognize the expectation that may be present in the mind and in the body. Perhaps an expectation to feel more, to have a deeper experience, even for this experience to end sooner. Feel into the urgency of expectation. What can I offer? What can I offer to expectation? So it feels seen and heard. What is beyond the expectation? Neti, neti, not this, then what? Feel into the heart of knowing. Notice the journey of the breath, quite easy and open through the nostrils, broad across the anatomy, just where the air enters the nostril. Like that entry into a pilgrimage with excitement, with anticipation, with readiness. And then as the breath becomes a little more fine-tuned, as the breath moves in through the tapering parts of the nostril, the intensity, the pressure, the journey begins to shift. Less light from the outside, more inner awareness, more trust in the darkness of those spaces. Letting the light of Prana Shakti guide. Feeling the pressure changes, how nothing stays the same, how even healing has so many forms, so many nuances. Notice how the out breath draws from inside. Allow it with your heart to draw from your entire energetic system. All that does not serve you anymore, but can be of service perhaps to others. Let this out breath gather and then carry up and out all that is ready to take new form. Noticing how wherever we are right now, wherever we are, you and I are breathing out of this vast, infinite ocean of breath. We receive what the other, the seeming other, has breathed out. What is good then? What is bad? What is disease and what is healing? What do we offer and receive through each breath? What is to reject in this breath that gives life to us all? Feel into this right now. This cosmic circulation. Breathing in and out. And the pause, the silence, in which each breath of yours and mine and all breathing beings breathing in ways that we identify as breathing and just throbbing with prana shakti in ways that we cannot yet discern. This cosmic circulation that unfolds each breath like a note, in the silent symphony of the divine. That prana yama. Prana and ayama. Expansion, flexibility, allowing just staying for about just a little minute in silence, connecting with this energetic grid of breath. Even at a physical level, the carbon dioxide I breathe out is food for the plants. Nothing is wasted, nothing is rejected. The opposites are necessary for balance. To grace staying with this cosmic pranic circulation. 1 minute, and allowing silence. Being connected with this cosmic circulation and just allowing the real energetic experience of this plant to, by grace, be manifest. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukha bhag bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Offering all the fruits of the practice and our entire experience to the divine, the mantra Idam Namama. This is not mine. Idam Namama. Gently rubbing the palms together. Feeling the warmth, the prana, and then gently cupping the eyes, reaching the hands over the arms, and gently opening the eyes. Thank you so much. I just want to close with saying that um, when you come to your pranayama practice, I invite you to first come into intimacy with the divine and breath. Many times our pranayama practice is achievement and performance based. How much did I do? How many rounds? How long can I retain the kumbhaka? Just, explore this aspect also. It may have something to offer to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mirabelle ji. This was a very transporting, the words that came to me were transporting, non judgmental, interdependent connections. And those are words that came as uh, flowed through some of your practice. So, very beautiful. Thank you very much for that session. And we've got Cindy Levaji who's also thanking you very much. Anjan Nandiji saying thanksgiving for the session. And what was Cindy ji was also wanting to know what was the name of the pranayama book you mentioned in the beginning.
It's not a pranayama book. It's a book on breathing. So it's a very technical kind of book on all the science of breathing. And I always confuse the title, but it's by James Nestor, that JamesNestor. And I think it's the only book he's written. So if you just Google his name, then you will get the correct title. Something like Breath, the Lost Science, the Lost Art, the Art of the Lost Science, or yeah.
Okay. So that was a technical question. But besides that, I was also wanting to ask you that you've just literally, created this entire pranayama summit by talking to various experts from different backgrounds. So, if you'd like to share with us some of those findings that have also strengthened your work or deepened your understanding of prana, because you have this very close connection with prana, with your own prana. And so, what other perspectives were you able to add to your own journey in the discovery of closeness with the breath?
Yeah, I love science. My mom was a scientist, so I love the logical aspect. I also love the bhakti aspect. And the summit actually came to me in sadhana as a guidance from Devi, as did the bhakti summit last year, which was, it's Kali Yuga and bhakti is the practice. So bhakti must come also into pranayama sadhana. And if you look at Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it says that pranayama can heal any kind of disease. It's all there in our text. And yet, my experience of learning and things, it was quite a mechanical practice. And so I felt that there must be many. When I had to. I'm logicalizing it, but it came in a moment in sadhana. Like, you have to do this, and I was like, me, yes, okay, jo hukum kind of thing. Like, whatever you say, Devi. Uh, and then, of course, then begins the cognitive process of it. But so the summit was really to provide like a thali, right? For those of you that are not from India, thali is like a beautiful presentation of a meal with lots of different bowls of different flavors, like sweet and savory and bitter, and all of the tastes that are present on our planet. And then you can take what you want. I think if you're in Europe, like a smorgasbord is more like maybe an explanation. And so it is inevitable that we must come to the practice of pranayama if we're doing yoga. And so we had the Dr. Sundar Balasubramaniam, for example, which is a fabulous research on the salivary immunoproteins that are produced when we do pranayama sadhana. About 150 just in one single sitting of Anulom Vilom with a certain mantra or affirmation by people who have never practiced yoga ever in their life before. And has shown the production of these salivary immunoproteins, including ones that are present in people who are not really have COVID but are not affected by it. So it's and also like we looked at the bhakti aspect. What is Hanuman? What is Vayuputra? Why is he Vayuputra? What does that have to do with prana in the mind? Because the mind is all over the place. But when you come into that bhakti and devotion, to that ekagrata of one pointedness that Hanuman had, that took him to that experience of consciousness, of connection, of service. And at the end of the day, it is seva, right? It is seva not with the ego aspect of it, but just of connection, of feeling that karuna and that compassion. We also had you speaking about Sanskrit and how the pranic aspects of that. And then we had biofield science, which is an emerging field of science, which looks at pranic healing. It looks at biodynamic craniosacral therapy, but in very empirical ways. So how do we actually quantify that? What could be the placebo? What they may often say is the placebo effect. How can we negate all of those? So Dr. Shamini Jain doing amazing research in that, in that field. We had Shantala ji, who is also on Indica Yoga, speaking about Vedic chanting and why we have to chant a specific way, what are the pranic effects of that, and it really changes the physiology of the body. And so the idea was really to whatever, whether you love science or you love chanting or you love asana or Sanskrit or bhakti or whatever, there's no reason not to do pranayama, not to allow prana. So that really was it, Anu.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for bringing in that the connection of Hanumana with breath, because the other day when Krishnadas ji spoke about Hanuman. So I know I'm saying Hanumana. So he spoke about Hanuman. So he spoke about Hanuman as the Neem Karoli Baba, in fact, had referred to Hanuman as the breath of Rama, Lord Rama himself. So, and tying it in with the bhakti aspect that you so beautifully brought out, the fact that when one is able to invite Hanuman in, then one experiences this intimacy, the relationship that Lord Rama had with Hanuman. I mean, it could not be more intimate. So very beautiful. Yes, thank you for that. Again, a lot of
Thank
appreciation
you.
coming in. Sachinji is saying that you're very blissful and an amazing teacher. So greatly appreciative of your style. Debraji, who's also a very regular participant on our programs, she's saying not a question but a beautiful practice for which I want to thank you. And what was the opening mantra? So possibly you could at some point guide them towards that. But if I can just share some, would you like to answer that? Like maybe direct them towards the opening mantras or
Yeah, so the opening mantra is what we usually chant in Shivananda ashrams. And it's if you just Google Shivananda opening chant, you will find it. I also have a video on my YouTube channel with the chant, so that's also available there. Yeah.
thank you.
Um,
There was another thought that struck me, and when you talked about intimacy as two people having two things having a close connection, one thing that struck me is that when we are asked to observe our breath, which is what pranayama really does. I mean, we are breathing all the time, but none of us really step back and notice this phenomenon that is happening, and which is the very foundations of our existence. We breathe, we are; we don't breathe, we are not. It's as as important as that. So this whole thing of being able to step back and then consciously reconnect with it is what I learned or what I felt listening to you and your sharing. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that aspect as well, because there is a certain degree of detachment from the breath in order to allow it to flow without interference. So how would you
Yes.
position this relationship really?
Yeah, such a beautiful observation and question. You know, um, a breath is a portal. You know, it's an invitation. That's how I feel. And prana is even beyond breath. Breath is just a way in which we can fine tune and experience prana. It's a palpable sensation, right? Breath. It's not abstract. So we are able to, and sensation is what kind of draws our awareness outside or inside, right? So in pratyahara, we're taking our senses inward. So we come into breath as it's like a bridge to experience a prana, and that, I was extremely attached to pranayama because it helped me heal from so much. Then it became like and then something shifted with this intimacy. When this Swami Shambhu said intimacy, I was like, I opened my eyes like a Swami in India would never say that. Intimacy, breath is caressing the inner walls of your nostril. I'm like, what is going on here? Where have I landed? So, but that's what, even when we are in relationships with another person, if we cannot observe what is my need, what is this person's need, then we become reactive, right? We try to direct, control, fix, solve, all of these things. But just allowing is a non-doing, but it's complete. It's a non-doing. You just allow. So okay, if my breath is short today, or if I couldn't chant the mantras as I normally do because I'm still recovering from the flu, it's okay. I allow it to happen, and I still feel joyful, and I can still feel prana, no problem. That urgency, it goes away, and then we look into that. Expectation is such a strong part. I notice it's the ego, right? That's coming and saying, I expect this from my pranayama practice, or I must come as a sadhaka, I must be very focused, or I must not this, or all these kind of things, which are essential initially when we're getting into sadhana. At some point, they have to drop, because then if I'm talking all the time and expecting and having an inner dialogue, how can I allow to listen to the divine? Because divine is like, it's always there, as like a mother. She may not be speaking, but she's there. You feel her presence. So that is, I think, the shift for yeah, it's not just the breath, but the breath is still wonderful.
Yes. So again, listening to you, I just what came to me also was this, that when we are stepping back and noticing the breath. So there is this whole element of listening, which seems to also be another valuable quality in intimacy. Like you said, you step back and you listen to the need and allow it to flow where it needs to go, rather than saying you there and like you just try and control it. You just there is an accepting flow that can emerge in that. Very beautiful. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So there is somebody called C. If G, he's saying that I have degenerative myopia and see only 2 to 3 inches from my eyes clear. What and how long it takes to reverse it? So, do you have any therapeutic suggestions that breath can offer for
Mm.
solving that?
Yeah. Um, it was, I would just say that there must be a gift for this. There are always gifts for things that are available when there are things we cannot do in the present moment. And I cannot speak to your current challenge because I do not have the medical or other background to speak to it. But what I can share is that this could be a temporary visitor to you. I work a lot with people with all kinds of different challenges, from heart challenges to sexual abuse, and all the work happens through prana. And what one of the things that unfolds is our story, the story that and the relationship we have with pain, or with what is at the heart of it. And I say this from my own experience of having had a slip disc. Most often, when I come to the heart of it, there is, and I say this with so much respect for your experience, because it cannot be easy in any measure, is that there is something looking for attention. Not in a bad way, but just looking to be acknowledged. And the slip disc is not my slip disc. And I'm not attaching myself to the story of it. It is something that is passing through me, and it is offering me an opportunity to find my strength differently in the case of the slip disc, or to find a vision differently, and just coming into that listening, because through prana we can guide into a practice, but the answer as you need it is within you, and it is available in this biofield of prana. And just tuning in and allowing, I'd say just being intimate with breath, and write a love letter to your eyes. It's so beautiful to write a love letter of all the wonderful experiences you had with your eyes before this challenge, has come temporarily, by grace. And and what can you offer to this? Like, what can you offer now as gratitude or as care to your eyes? Like a warm embrace, like a hug. How can you feel the prana shakti when you inhale, you receive, we distill on the retention, channel that prana shakti to your eyes, allowing it to do what it needs to do. Not healing, not to heal, not to change, not to shift. No expectation. We receive the most when we don't expect. So and we are surprised, awe, right? And I missed that slide, but awe is a factor that we may have lost very often. That's what's happening right now in the world. The awe has gone. When COVID happened, what really struck me, no, seriously struck me, was like, okay, everything is created by the divine. What's the gift in this, right? The gift in this is you cannot ignore the breath. COVID is saying either you be afraid of the breath, or you come into a relationship with the breath, which is beyond fear, which is available through pranayama and obviously in many spiritual traditions, different practices. So just, I think the answer was all over the place because there's so much and I'm conscious of time. But yeah, so just allow and say, let the prana go. Just give her free rein. You'll be surprised by the divine. It's incredible, and it's healing is not often a journey. It can also happen spontaneously. No stories.
I think the spontaneity of your connection comes through very obviously on the screen, and the way you are being able to relate to it and relate it to us also. Thank you very much. So, since time is also running out and all good things have to come to their own close or pause, let's say, because things will
Just a transition.
just
Yeah.
yeah. So what I'll do next is make the announcement for tomorrow's program, and then come back to you and request you to let us know how the audience can connect with you and your work, and after that request you for a message. So would you like to, in the meanwhile, just put it out on the panels and attendees so they have it there? In the meanwhile, thank you. Kotiji, could I request you to please put up tomorrow's program? So, dear friends, we've been looking at various kinds of healing. Tomorrow, we have this young, very inspirational couple, Siddhant Ghosh and Shravani Mukherjee. They are doing a lot of work with society, with the not so comfortable, the darker parts of society, and guided or being able to do this on the basis of a spiritual strength that they have found through the Bhagavad Gita. So tomorrow morning session would be on spiritual inspiration for social healing. Um, they have an organization, and Siddhant is the founder of the Rescue and Relief, and this couple is working on that. A young 33-year-old couple that's working on this program. So Please join us tomorrow morning. It's going to be a very important uh, awakening, and especially this understanding of social healing aspect. In the evening, we have another session by Rutger Kortenhorst, another very great friend from Ireland, originally Dutch, but now in Ireland since many years. And he's a Sanskrit and philosophy teacher at a very unique kind of school known as the School of Philosophy. He's going to be talking to us on wellness through yoga and Ayurveda, an Irish experience. So both these sessions are going to be phenomenal. So please do stay with us and look forward to your questions and comments as well on these sessions. Thank you. So, Mirabelle ji, thank you very much for putting your details on. Is there anything else that you would like to also share verbally? Because I don't know about the chat, but maybe you'd just like to tell people a little more about how they can connect with your work.
Yeah, the work is just what comes, is not mine. Ego keeps trying to claim it, but yeah, it's not mine. um, I've just put a little. There's an intimacy with breath practice that you can access on the website, and I just want to thank you for being here today and for sticking with the practice. It's a bit of a long practice. It requires a lot of commitment with all the distractions in the online world and in the homes to stick with the practice. So I thank you. Thank you for that. And I also want to say that, whatever I am sharing with you, I owe it to my teachers. I owe it to my country, and my ancestors, and so anything good that you experienced is from that. This is just like some kind of a coagulation of that. And if there's anything that felt non-resonant to you, or that felt like that you did not enjoy, or felt offensive in any way, I'm very, very sorry. I'm just sharing from my experience, which, like all of us, is limited. So thank you so much. And thank you to Indica Yoga for being so sattvic. There are so many organizations with so many agendas, and it's an industry out there. And I think Indica is really, to me, the most sattvic yogic organization I know. So I'm very grateful for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'll just make a few announcements. But if you'd like to, were you able? I mean, do you have a slide by chance with your contact details that you might just like to flash? And just for the audience, so all these lectures will be available on the Indica Yoga platforms. That is indicayoga.com, Indica Yoga YouTube channel, as well as the Facebook page. So if you've missed anything and would like to catch up, please feel free to go to our calendar page and you can find all the events marked there. Indica Yoga also runs programs, runs courses. So if you feel inspired by any one of our speakers, because then we try and rope them in. These are all teasers for you. And then we try and rope them in and allow a more deeper experience with their knowledge. So please feel free to join us and stay with us on all those programs. Yes, would you like to just show that again? That's it. Okay. So thank you very much and look forward to staying connected through our work and through prana, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. And have a good rest and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.